If you want to know something, focus your attention on it. It is the time-tested way. With enough attention and concentration, what is unknown becomes crystal clear. It is the way scientific discoveries are made and spiritual insights are gained. Try it with life. It is the only real thing after all. Not what we are doing every day, but what life actually is. Focusing our attention on life itself changes everything. Mostly our attention is focused for us. That is, it follows what is presented to it. We mistake explanations given for understanding, labels for reality, concepts for truth. Nonetheless, clarity and real understanding are native to us. Every now and again, we do have spontaneous flashes of insight. We see. The fog we live in clears for a moment. Maybe, for example, it is a flash in which we see that time really doesn't exist. Previously only a thought, a concept. It is suddenly so clear and real. There is only ever now. Past is memory, future is projection. Then almost unnoticed, it has turned into just a concept again, a collection of thoughts, and the clarity is gone. Our attention has been hijacked by the mind, and our attention is off somewhere else. We are again lost in thought, barely aware it ever happened. This happens often. How often do we see something with total clarity? Maybe not world-shattering, but life-changing, for us at least, if we acted on it. But our attention drifts off, and it fades unused. Little is learned, nothing is gained. We're back to groping in the dark, stumbling from one situation to another, and not knowing what is going on and why. But it is a fact that we do have the ability to see into things, that we can know. Ordinary people who have had a flash of technical ingenuity or business inspiration or great spiritual insight and acted on it have got us to where we are today. They have opened us to fire and the wheel, nanotechnology and artificial intelligence. But far more vital is an understanding of life through spiritual insight. These moments of clarity are just being truly awake to the present. Looking back at when we had these brief chance flashes of genius, it has been in moments of inner stillness, in moments when our mind is free of all sorts of inner chatter. Being able to hold even a glimpse of that heightened condition is the beginning of living an increasingly deeper life. Many insights have dawned on me and faded. The few insights that I have been more conscious of and acted on led to such life-expanding changes. The problem was they were only occasional flashes, rarely acted on. The question became, how could I have this insight flashing constantly and consciously live by them? Having a high degree of clarity turns out to be like riding a bicycle. You wouldn't believe it if you had just been told about it, but hadn't seen it. It is impossible to stay on a bicycle to start with. With some persistence and practice, it becomes second nature, and you do it without thinking. You can go so far, so fast, with so little effort. Likewise, in the beginning, clarity seems impossible. But just like balance on a bicycle, it is latent in us, and so is our natural clear perception. Natural clear perception is inborn, though in modern society, which seeks power over the individual, our awareness is disabled as we grow up. It renders us average and vulnerable to manipulation. Early in our life, inquisitive open minds questioned. Our pet died. Where did it go? Is it now with Granny? We ask if time goes, where does it go? Our questions were constantly shut down. Adults didn't have answers. We were always told that it was beyond our ability to understand. You'll understand those things when you grow up, we were told. The opposite turned out to be true. Our inquisitiveness had been dulled by the previous generation, that in its turn had been rendered sightless. As we age, life seems to close in on us rather than expand. The system is built to facilitate an increasingly unquestioning conformity. It starts with school and continues into working life. The media bombards us, the authorities threaten us, and society pressures us. To distract us from our inquiry, symbols of success, security, and significance are dangled in front of us, taking our attention with promises of happiness. The only happiness we saw was in the advertisements. What we got was endless hard work, the carrot and the stick technique. We work for certificates and tokens and the badges of success, an anesthetizing cocktail of wishful thinking, symbols and promises of constant bliss. Always later. If we get them, they prove to be hollow, but we keep quiet, thinking we might have done something wrong, or not wanting to be shown up as having been had. Questioning. That is, real questions, so natural to our human nature, are not encouraged by society. So we stop asking. But we know deep inside that what we are told, promised, is false, untested speculation, not conclusions based on conscious experience. We know it, but we let it go. We want to believe it. What else is there anyway? Nonetheless, we are chasing false comfort. Here is our first step in gaining heightened state of clarity or truth. Sincerity in seeking it. Truth is not found in following the false, however appealing its promises. It's up to us to step onto the solid ground of conscious experience. Here and now, present and seeing without the filter of preconception. What is it that is here and now without preconception? Life. Life is this. We are experiencing something. This something is experienced through or by our attention. It is experienced as our fears, our hopes, our desires, the things happening to us, but mostly our fears. This is our experience. Looking back at our known history, what has been our path? Taken step by step, we see the forming of our viewpoint, the distracting of our attention, and the stoking of our fear. It began as we were born with the gradual growing awareness of our environment, beginning with the awareness of our caregivers. They gave us a name, that me. Lots of things were attached to it in our minds. Then their reality became ours. Language, race, religion, culture, privilege or poverty, what is true and what is not, and all the rest, especially their fears. This became our identity. That's who we saw ourselves as. Now we have an identity. The content and activity of our mind is centered around it. Gradually we become prisoners of our conditioning. We seldom resist or even question the conditioning of our mind by the society we live in, or the life experience it causes us as individuals to believe and accept as reality, especially the fear. The power of respect and love for and belief in ourselves is discouraged with intimidation. The society that has formed our view of life is, after all, not the perfect ideal, the yardstick of what is right and proper. It is just the average state of people normalized. And that average normalized state needed defending to make society feel secure. In the past, it was normal to burn witches and to believe the earth was flat and the center of the universe. Disagreement could mean death. Prevailing society's beliefs, along with animal needs, informed our perceptions, desires, and choices. In this captured and weakened state, we try to cope within the structure of our environment. Its nature dominates our behavior and choices. Yet we don't have a clear objective view of it. What do we see as we stand back and look at life objectively, scientifically, and non-emotionally? What is there? We live in a world of duality. It is a world primarily made of competing opposites: hot and cold, war and peace, rich or poor, day and night, male or female, birth and death. It is inherently unstable, always changing. Whatever you see, its opposite is there trying to take its place. It is compelling, dynamic, and demanding. Our attention is instinctively occupied with balancing or avoiding opposites. Opposites give form and significance to our experience. We couldn't know hot without cold. It is natural for our attention to be absorbed endlessly by opposites as we attempt to live amongst them, always seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. It is our inclination to try and find happiness, comfort, and security by making this dual unstable world into a stable mono world through experiencing no opposites, just having the good. But whatever we do, it remains a dual world. Ignoring or denying that nature is always balancing things hinders our seeing. As in conscious awareness, we miss or ignore that within this space of opposites is its controlling law. In our seeking basic comfort in a world of opposites, we overlook the thing which shapes every aspect of our life here. We are aware of it, but not so consciously awake to it. The law of cause and effect is absolutely a part of everything. Every action has its equal and opposite reaction. It is the predominant natural law shaping our experience and everything else in our world of opposites. Everything we do has a consequence. Every experience resulted from a cause. Every cause has an effect, which in turn becomes a cause. The chain reaction of cause and effect guides and unfolds the course of our tangible experience, without exception. We see cause and effect in action in everything, but in our decisions we ignore it, or try to outwit it. If we really consciously became aware of and observed its operation, there will be no crime, hate, taking advantage of others, or so many other similar selfish actions. Self-interest will prevent it as our awareness grows of we get what we give. Somehow, as humans, we feel exempt. We feel that we can avoid this central governing natural law, which is evident in action everywhere. We try to live without taking it into account. It leads to a sort of blindness, and we keep bumping into things. Ignoring cause and effect makes life an unintentional hell. It has us questioning why life is so unjust. Our attention is caught in an unconscious emotional battle, in opposition with natural outcomes. Yet, if we consciously recognize the law of cause and effect, it puts the power of nature in our hands. But even as we do become aware of the world of duality we live in, and the law of cause and effect, that governs it, we are still in danger of slipping into an unconscious state without becoming aware it has happened. For most of our waking hours, our attention is so lost in thought that we are only vaguely aware of what is going on. Without vigilance, our life is passed in this trance-like state. Our attention is in regretting or blaming or reliving our past, or more accurately, spending our time with our attention in our memory. Or our attention is projecting our worst fears into the future, where we battle them, or indulging in some pleasurable fantasy. Or we are lost in our digital handheld mind, mindlessly roaming around or socializing on a screen in a digital world. We create and experience nothing there. Most of us are ignoring our entire lifetime while in an unconscious state, seldom experiencing our present moment with aware, conscious attention. We spend our life stumbling about in what is really an unconscious dream. We are technically asleep. To outline our life, our attention has been steadily drawn from an unconscious space at birth through awareness-numbing process to a point where most of us are asleep. Some of us only wake up in the dying moments to realize we have let it slip by unlived. And what now? Inexperienced, ignorant, unaware, and alone, we must journey on. We do have a limited amount of years, months and weeks and days in this experience. We tend to lose sight of this. Our time between birth and death is limited, as is the nature of this experience. Yet we ignore the nature of our experience, changing from youth to adulthood to old age, all experienced in the now, but with our attention in remembering the past or imagining the future, giving an appearance of moving through time. Seldom is our attention in the present moment of conscious life experience, of actual experiencing real life. We spend our life in a mental world, a mental construct, not a conscious experience, until it's all over. What can you achieve in memory that is of any lasting value? We are wasting such an opportunity to become conscious, an opportunity we don't quite understand or appreciate yet. Do we have a chance of escaping this state, making sense of life and finding peace of mind? Here is a question that holds the answer. Where are we looking? Focus outward into the material, and the material world expands in every direction for as long as you are focused on it. Space appears to be increasingly endless, and the more we look out into it. In the other direction, the building blocks of matter seem to be made of ever smaller components, made in turn of ever smaller components. The past is infinite, so is the future, so is time and space. It is all a product of the mind, experienced in the mind. On the other hand, consciousness is quite different. If we focus on pure conscious awareness, the timeless, formless spiritual opens. The material world, the world of mind and matter we live in, is not a conscious experience. It is a mental material experience. We are only in contact with it via our attention in the physical senses and our thoughts about it. Consciousness, awareness, on the other hand, is an experience of being. What we are to experience is a matter of choosing the direction of our attention. For most of us, the environment we are attempting to live in, be happy in, make sense of, is what is formed by what our physical senses tell us, and our minds interpret it as. Virtual reality is created in the same way. The real reality is not the experience of our attention in a mental material experience. Distractions, desires, projections, sensations. Where our attention goes is what we are aware of. This is what we experience. Along with our physical senses, our mind forms these experiences. What do we think? Big thinkers generally get plenty. Positive people have success. Loving people are better liked. And the opposite. Little thinkers, bitter, resentful people, people who focus on the negative, have lives troubled by the object of their negativity. What we think is projected into our life. What are we thinking now? The more concentrated and focused, the quicker it happens. Control of our mind is to a large degree the method to control our life experience, but always within the bounds of cause and effect. The outcome is always limited by our understanding of what cause will translate into what effect. Experience and later depth of insight prevents difficulty producing shortcuts. It requires some depth of insight. To see for ourselves what truly is here and now is to regain control of our attention. It is a practical step in the right direction to become aware of the world of duality and the law of cause and effect that governs it. We are then able to live the least disturbed life. We are aware of what environment we are in and can see how to manage it. We see our present reality. We are able to start from here and then move on to the real thing. Actual waking up to conscious, aware attention. The most unknown of our abilities is that we can consciously choose to withdraw our attention from all mental noise, from the conditioning we were brought up in, including the media noise. We can still our mind. We can consciously see life, not as we've been conditioned to see it, but for what it is. Ask yourself, is life this shallow, seemingly pointless, short sensation we appear to be limited to? Seeing for ourselves dissolves this illusion, this virtual reality that we are held captive by through our mind and senses. Consciousness draws its substance from within oneself. Consciousness lies beyond all our conditioning. It is an experience beyond our present experience, so it is difficult to describe. The description anyone can give is at best symbolic. You recognize the symbol for what it is trying to portray as you experience the actual reality of consciousness. Life is experienced differently at different levels of perception. Mind and matter just react to each other, making up our material experience within the natural laws of material existence. Mind is a natural AR, immense calculating ability, but no consciousness. Functioning much the same way as AR, it integrates naturally with AR. For mind's immense ability, especially in conjunction with AR, is still limited to the unconscious. There is much beyond the mind's comprehension. Conscious, aware attention sees beyond those barriers where our mind finds its limit. Our present experience is the state or space or vibration of energy we are in at the moment. Who we think we are is limited to who we think we are. It is self-imposed. It is not the true limit of life. As our attention returns to full conscious awareness, we pass through a portal into a new understanding and a new space, a new experience. Life opens out past the reach of our present limited intellectual perception. One enters an experience beyond description. The clarity we seek is absent in conformity, is not found in impulse, nor felt in instinct, or seen by the intellect. Clarity is experienced in stillness, in inner silence. With a still mind and conscious aware attention, our experience is insight, comprehending the real nature of things. It happens in the silence within us. Here is the secret of clarity. Focus on your inner being, on the inner silence. Conscious aware attention in inner stillness opens unseen doors.